Mr. President, we may begin. May I take roll?
Please do.
Thank you. Board members, when you hear your name, please acknowledge that you are here. John Harabidian.
Here.
Ruben Osorio.
Here.
Amy Mateki.
Here.
Yongping Chen.
Here.
Yun Francisco Kim.
I'm here.
And Shudong Li.
I'm here.
Thank you, members. We have all 6 members in attendance and have quorum. Item 2 is for you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. It's August 11th, 9:04 a.m. Appreciate everyone attending. I don't have any formal remarks other than it's good to speak to everyone, see everyone on the virtual meeting, and look forward to a productive meeting. So we can jump into the next item.
Thank you, Mr. President. For item number 3, petition for reinstatement. This item has been withdrawn by the petitioner, and we can move forward to item number 5, which would be review and possible approval of the March 25th, 2022 board meeting minutes. Board members, in your review of the minutes, do you have any questions, comments, or edits to provide us? If there are none, can I please have a motion and a second to approve the minutes?
I can move to approve. This is Amy Mateki.
Thank you, Member Mateki. We have a motion on the table to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Member Kim. We have a second. Let's go ahead and open it up for public comment.
Thank you. This is the moderator. I'm opening up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public wishes to comment on agenda item 5, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists, or you may simply raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment at this time. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I'll go ahead and do a roll call vote on the motion to approve the minutes. Members, when you hear your name, please go ahead and say aye to affirm, nay to deny. President Harabidian.
Aye.
Vice President Osorio.
Yes, I do.
Member Mateki.
Aye.
Member Chen.
Aye.
Member Kim.
Yes, aye.
Member Lee.
Aye.
Thank you kindly, members. The minutes have been approved, and we may move on to the executive management report. We can start with the budget update. And for the budget update, what we have here is fiscal month 11. So this would be May. So right now we're wrapping up the year-end fiscals. So we'll have the full year for you available at the next meeting. But for now, this is what we have available. And it looks like we will be reverting a small amount of money back to our fund. So we came in under budget. And it's looking good. Any questions from the board members? Hearing none, I can move on to the staffing update. As we can see, Christine Brothers is still on maternity leave, and so we are without the policy coordinator. Additionally, we have a vacancy in our administrative coordinator, as well as our enforcement analyst. We have been advertising for them, and especially with the enforcement analyst position, we've had couple runs, and what usually is happening is that this is an employee's market, and by the time we get to them, the individuals already accept a position elsewhere. So we are trying to fast track the hiring process such that we can catch ourselves some great workers. Any questions from the board members on the staffing update? Hearing none, I'll move to the facilities update. On June 23rd, the board moved to headquarters 1 and to our new place, and we are almost settled in. Yesterday, we finished having our file room shelves installed, and we are waiting for them to be secured to the floor and the walls, and then we'll be able to load up the remaining licensing and enforcement files. So everything is going well, and staff have been settled in, and it's a really nice place. Any questions from the board members on the facilities update? Hearing none, I'll move to the business modernization update. And here I'd like to ask Mr. Hurt to provide us the update. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bodea. So in continued work and collaboration with our business modernization partners, the California Department of Technology and the Department of Consumer Affairs Office of Information Services, the Acupuncture has continued to develop and add new features for its online licensing platform, AcuConnect. In spring of 2022, the board added to the continuing education module that is currently provides staff cashiering, which will also soon allow providers to apply and renew their provider statuses online, as well as to submit continuing education course applications. This effort the effort is in the user acceptance phase of development with the planned go live date for the CE functionality planned for early September 2022. So we're really close to that launch. The AcuConnect system fiscal year 2021-22 processed 4,200 acupuncture license renewals and also 2,448 initial wall license applications. And the system also collected $3,117,904 of revenue. That also shows a 70% use of licensees that are renewing their licenses in the AcuConnect system, which is considered to be a really, really good system adaptation at this point. In September 2022, the project will change from its development phase to maintenance and operation phase, which is planned to continue for the next 18 months. During that period, the plan continues to refining existing licensing processes, and also add the AcuConnect enforcement and also CE audit modules, expand functionality to allow the licensees the ability to manage their licenses status, for example, things like active, inactive, name change, and then also request license verifications. And then we also plan to add some functionality to
Mr. Hurt, you cut out there. Perhaps you are muted.
Yeah, I lost him as well.
This is, oh, I was just going to say he was unmuted, but let's see. This is the moderator. And Jay, if you're having difficulty with your audio through your computer, you can go to the top of your screen, select audio and video, and do call in.
Please bear with us a moment as we see if Jay can connect a different way.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. How far did we get in my report? Was anything heard, or looks
Yeah,
like my audio cut off?
Through most of it, I would say you stopped at the just after the CE functionality for the providers and the number of licenses and applications.
Okay. Let me pick it up a little bit from there then. in terms of CE, this might be a little bit redundant, but I'm just going to go there. The CE module development is now in the user acceptance phase of development. We're planning to go live with the CE functionality in early September 2022, so we're very close to that. The AcuConnect system in the fiscal year 2021-22 did process 4,200 acupuncture license renewals, as well as 2,448 initial wall licenses in the system, and the system collected a total of $3,117,904 of revenue, and then also that represented about a 70% adaptations of licensees that are renewing using the AcuConnect systems to renew their licenses. And then moving forward in September 2022, the project will change from the development phase to the maintenance and operation phase of the project, which is that phase is planned to continue for the next 18 months. During this period, the board plans to continue refining its existing licensing processes to add the AcuConnect enforcement and CE audit modules, expand functionality to include the ability for licensees to manage their licenses status, for example, active and inactive licenses, also license verifications, and name change applications, as well as a CE licensee dashboard that will allow licensees to track their CE compliance as well. And that's the completion of that business modernization report. And sorry about my technical difficulties.
Thank you, Jay. Board members, any questions on the business modernization update? As you heard, 70% utilization rate, that's quite a high adoption rate. Hearing none, Mr. Hurt, if you could please move on to the licensing report.
Okay, and continue with the licensing for it. So in quarter four of, and which is basically the end of the fiscal year numbers, there were 11,883 clear licenses, which are able to practice. There were, of those licenses, 7,966 were active, 2,359 were on inactive status. We had 1,558 delinquent licenses renewals, and then 57 canceled licenses. And so that's for the licensing report. And just to give you a frame of reference, the year-end fiscal year 2020-21 numbers were 12,942 licenses, which represents for this year a drop in licenses of 1,059 licensees. And it's been a very unusual time for our licensees with a fee change in the pandemic and challenges. So it'll be interesting to see how that shorts out. I think that it looks like a bigger drop than will actually be in the long run, but we'll continue tracking it. For initial licenses, this is people that have qualified for the exam and passed the exam, ready to be licensed. There were 77 in Q4. There were no denials of those license applications. We did 1,584 license renewals, and then also added 2,976 wall licenses. Of those, that's our total wall license, 2,976. Of those in Q4, we added 534 new wall licenses, and there were 51 wall license renewals, which there's a low number of renewals because those are just being added in right now. So most licensees haven't come to a renewal process for their initial wall licenses. Moving on to the continuing education part of the report, we did have 7 new CE provider applications approved, and then we did receive 728 applications for continuing education approval. Of those applications, we were able to approve 724 applications, and we denied 4. And usually the reason for denial of those are out of scope or not enough time for submission. So those are the 2 main reasons. Usually it's submission deadline issues. And then for our total number of our continuing education active providers are 383. And to date, we've issued a total of 1,754 total CE providers right now with 383 active. Moving on to schools, the acupuncture education training programs applications for board approval of curriculum received. We received 2 of those applications in Q4. And then of those applications, none were incomplete or none were approved, and we did not lose any. There was no loss of approval of program acceptance or curriculum approval. Moving on to acupuncture tutorial programs, of the applications received, in Q4 we received 5 applications for tutorials. No new programs were approved in that plan. There was 1 program completed, and there were 4 programs either abandoned or terminated during that period. And the total active tutorial programs as of Q4 were 53. And that concludes my licensing report. And let me know if there's any questions, board members.
This is Member Kim. The number of drops in active licenses is 1,000. Is it pretty much what's happening in other health professions?
I can't provide that data. I don't have data to speak to that. We could look into that, what's going on. I do think, just from what I've seen, we have a number of inactive licensees that are practicing out of state, and with the fee raises and with them being out of state for a number of time, it does seem like a lot of our inactive licensees are moving to whatever state they're at and not renewing their licenses. So. But also the pandemic has created a whole bunch of issues for licensees as well. So I think it's a number that we want to follow closely, and that's why I mentioned it, looking into that. And I just think it's important to track it as you're asking about. So.
Yeah, because I heard a lot of, especially in Korean community down in Southern California, they're closing down their practices. And due to the nature of the profession, this acupuncture wrist can practice until their old age. But I also heard that a lot of physicians are retiring if they are over 65 or 70 years old, and maybe you can. Tag some of those information. So let's say license numbers are like, for example, mine's are like in 5,000 range, and I got it in late 90s. So those who acquired the license maybe 20 years ago, maybe they were over age to practice. Maybe it's not worth to continue. So maybe it's the sign that the generation has been changing, but I see not much of number increase in the new licensees. So I don't know. Maybe it's got to do with the education or training program. Maybe it's not appealing to the younger generation. Just my thought.
And I did want to clarify that number drop was the year-end 2020-22 number was 12,942, as opposed to our year-end Q4 number of 11,883. So those were yearly comparisons, not quarterly comparisons. And I do think the profession is aging, and more people are stopping the profession, and the schools have been challenged with just a lot of issues, and so we are having a drop of exam and new licensees as well. So again, it's something we really want to track carefully.
Thank you.
Indeed, and to keep in mind, the U.S. demographic data shows that our baby boomers should be one of the highest years of retirement, as well as the economic situation and the COVID pandemic. So we'll keep an eye on it and continue to inform the board as to these stats. Any other questions from the board members on the licensing report? Hearing none, we can
This
move
is
on.
Yuping.
Ah,
Sorry,
yes,
can you hear
please.
me?
Yes,
So I
go
can
ahead.
just unmute myself, right?
Certainly, yes, of course.
Thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. So for what I hear or see from the profession, I think I'll compare with other profession, healthcare professions. I think the pandemic should be the number one factor to affect this profession, especially acupuncture profession is face-to-face, though we have telehealth, but acupuncture, you do needle, you cannot do telehealth. So I think that's the big factor to make the decreasing of the number of licensed acupuncturists. So that's what's my observation. Thank you. And hopefully, after pandemic, we have some positive change. Okay, that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Chen. Any other comments from the board members or questions? Hearing none, I'll move to the enforcement report. The first report before you is for the third quarter. This is from January 1st through March 31st of this year. Unprofessional conduct, complaints received was 13, 5 for unregistered or unlicensed, 3 for sexual misconduct, 2 for fraud, 2 were non-jurisdictional, 6 were for incompetence or negligence, 1 for unsafe or unsanitary conditions, 2 in the other category, and none for substance abuse or for discipline by another state agency. So bringing the total of complaints received to 37. Moving on to the next page, we have the investigations where we initiated 37, 220 are still pending, and 21 were closed. And then for our statistics report, looks like it was blacked out for January and March. Let's see here. I will have to get back to you, board members, on that. For the materials, looks like they were blacked out here. So I do apologize for the performance measures not showing up appropriately. We go to actually performance measure 1. I see now. You'll have to skip a couple of pages lower. You'll see there will be, 4 pages of statistics after the investigations page, and then it'll start over again for the statistics report. And so we'll go at performance measure 1. We have 24 complaints received, 4 convictions of arrest received, and the total received was 28, which was a drop from year-to-year change. Cycle time intake was dropped down to 4. However, it is a slight increase from previous year. All investigations closed. Year to date, 118, 31 were closed in this quarter. And average cycle time for investigations right now is at 423 days. This usually is because of the complexity of the cases. In terms of the how many investigations were closed in their respective timeframes, we have the data here for 12 for up to 90 days, 2 for up to 180, 5 for up to a year, 9 for up to 2, and then dropping down to 3 that are over 5, and those are what is taking the numbers up. Citations, final citations issues were 2, with average date to close for 1,062. And this figure here is from a very long citation that actually required additional investigation, but was finally able to close. For PM4, AG cases, we had 1 in Q3, and the total cycle time there was 1,681 days. And going down with 2 AG cases initiated, 15 are pending, no statement of issues were filed, 1 accusation was filed, and then we have 1 probation was started. Total orders, aging, and final decision, we have 1 that was over 3 years that finally closed, and no other legal actions were taken. This would be a PC 23, Penal Code 23, or an interim suspension. And then scrolling down, we have the enforcement statistics report for Q4. And it looks like we may have misslipped. Okay. If board members scroll down to past these statistics, apologies on the materials. So scroll down 4 more pages or flip 4 more pages, and you'll see the complaints, convictions, arrest for Q4. This is from April 1st through June 30th. We received 14 complaints for unprofessional conduct, 2 for unlicensed or unregistered, 12 for criminal charges or convictions. 3 of those were for applicants, 9 for licensees, 1 sexual misconduct, 3 non-jurisdictional, 3 incompetence, for a total of 35. With the investigations, 35 were initiated, 238 are pending, and 17 are closed. And then if you scroll down again, it looks like the Q4 was placed behind this. So we can look at total complaints received, 23, total convictions arrests received, 12, and total received of both makes it 35. Cycle time for complaints received dropped to 2 days. Cycle time for investigations, 17 was short, and average cycle time for investigations is roughly 158. Again, we only had 2 last quarter. For number of investigations closed in our respective quarters, 11 were in the fourth quarter, 11 were under 90 days, 2 were under 180, 1 was under a year, 2 was under 2 years, and 1 was under 3. For citations, none were issued last quarter. Cycle time for discipline, no HG cases. As you can see for the next chart or table below, no cases were started, 21 are pending, 3 accusations were filed, and total closed after transmission was 1. With no closing, there's no stats for the total orders for aging, and no legal actions taken. Are there any questions from the board on this material? Hearing none, I'll move on to the sunset report update. I met with the joint BMP consultants 2 weeks ago, along with the leaders of other boards that are up for sunset review. And we discussed the new report. The new report was issued last week, and it has been assigned to staff, and so they will be turning their attention to that now. We have been working on year-end items, year-end reporting, as well as the annual report, as well as moving in. So we are moving on forward to continue with the sunset report. And once we have the initial draft ready for review, we will reach out to board members to schedule the next board meeting so that we may move forward with that. Any questions from the board members on this item?
Thanks, Ben. What is the updated timing, do we think, that would put us in front of the legislature for approval of the update?
Certainly. The report itself is due to the legislature on January 3rd, and then we were told a tentative February or March hearing date. And at the moment, they don't know if the format will be in person or remote due to the pandemic.
Got it. Thank you.
Of course. Any other questions or comments from the board members?
Do you, this member Kim, do you hear or do you see any voices over this sunset review report before the deadline from stakeholders?
Yes, stakeholders will be able to attend the public meeting where the board will be reviewing the report drafted by staff, along with the assistance of the Sunset Review Committee. John assigned himself and member Mateki to that, and so we will resume with them taking the review before we bring it to the board. But in terms of their participation, they are welcome to provide comments at that time to the board when the report is being presented for approval. As mentioned before, the report would have to be approved before the January 3rd submission by the full board before we could turn it in.
Okay,
Did I
thank
address
you.
your question? Okay, good. Any other questions from the board members? Okay. Looks like we're able to, oh, I'm sorry, we should now open up for public comment for the executive management report items.
Thank you. This is the moderator, and I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 6, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists, or you may simply raise your hand. We are displaying instructions, and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment at this time. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Please.
Okay, it's closed.
Thank you. Next item is the legislative report.
Thanks, Ben.
Certainly.
Oh,
ahead,
before
please.
we jump into it, yeah, I just had a question and kind of, I guess, some guidance in thought. I know that there's a number of different bills here. I couldn't exactly tell, but it seems as though we've taken positions on most of them. I'm not sure if all of them we've taken positions, but my thought was to probably just go over the ones where staff is either recommending a new position or a change position, or it's a new bill, if that makes sense.
Certainly. I'll just have to edit on the fly, so if you'll excuse me. There's no, I don't recall requesting a board change their position. Let me see. A number of these bills have actually been pulled back by the author, or they are dead. But let's see. Canceled. Assembly Bill 1733, the board had a support position on, that's still going through, but Senate Bill 189 passed before it, and Senate Bill 189, this is the last bill on the report, it would have, it does provide what 1733 was looking for, which is to grant boards the ability to hold their meetings remotely, as was in the previous 2 years of the pandemic, and this will extend that ability and for the board to meet remotely without the members having to notice their address on the agenda until July of next year. And that would be the last one where there was a action. Everything else was on watch or did not pass. Any questions from the board?
Great. No, I appreciate that. And I didn't mean to kind of throw that on you, but I thought that would be probably most efficient. And yeah, but if board members have any questions about any of the bills or any of the information in the report, please jump in and ask.
Members?
No questions, Amy Mateki. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Member Mateki. Seeing no additional comments or questions from the board members, Mr. President, we can move to the regulatory report.
Let's open this up for public comment first.
That's right. Thank you.
All right, I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 7, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Please, thank you.
You're welcome.
May I move to the regulatory report?
Yes, please.
Excellent. For this report, there is nothing new to add with the board staff working on the move and the year-end reporting and our policy coordinator out for the time being. There was no movement on any of the regulatory packages aside from the item that we will be bringing up after this. And so I can leave it at that and see if there's any questions for the board members regarding the status of our regulatory packages.
Any questions from the board members? None from me, Mr. Bodea. So,
Thank you, Mr. President. I recommend we open up for public comment then.
All right, this is the moderator, and I have opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 8, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists, or simply raise your hand. We are displaying instructions, and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment at this time. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
yes, please.
Okay, it's closed.
Thank you. And I'm ready to move on to the next item. This
Yes, please.
is excellent. Board members, before you is the discussion of proposed regulations on prohibited sexual acts. So staff was working with legal counsel to address the original intent of this bill, and the board was seeking authority to be able to pursue actions against prostitution or sexual behavior during treatment or treatment settings. And in our review, the legal counsels for both the board and DOJ were able to confirm that the board does have this authority already, does not need to seek additional authority. It would be cumbersome and repetitive. And there was some comments received as well that trying to address additional regulations for this subject area may stigmatize the practice indirectly. You have the history before you, and staff is just recommending that for us to be able to stop doing this regulation, since it's no longer warranted, we do have to make a motion to take this off of our regulatory calendar. And as you'll see, the last paragraph of the memo has a suggested motion. I'm ready to take questions or comments from the board members regarding this item.
Any questions from the board members?
Hearing none. Did I hear somebody? Do we have a motion on the table to abandon the regulatory package?
I like to make a move. Roshi, is Yongping Chen.
Yes, please.
Thank you. I move to direct the executive officer to abandon the regulatory language approved at the December 2016 board meeting, adding 16 CCR section 1399.469.4, and direct the board staff to not proceed with the regulatory rule making on the matter.
Thank you, Member Chen. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Member Kim. We have a motion on the table. It's been seconded. Please open it up for public comment.
Thank you. I'm opening up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 9, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, or simply raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Please do.
Okay.
I will go ahead and take a roll call vote. Members, a yes will support the motion to abandon the package, and they will reject it. Please state your position when I call your name. President Harabidian.
Aye.
Vice President Osorio. I believe that was an aye.
Correct.
Okay. Member Mateki?
Aye.
Thank you. Member Chen?
Aye.
Thank you. Member Kim?
Aye.
And Member Lee.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous, 6-0. Motion passes. This regulatory package will be abandoned. Thank you, members. We are now able to go to item number 10, public comments for items not on the agenda.
I guess we just open this right up for public comment. Oh, sorry, Amy, did you have some, Dr. Mateki, did you have something to say?
No. I just wondered before, do we need to ask the public to vote on this agenda?
I'm sorry, Member Mateki, can you clarify? Are you talking about the previous item we just
Voted.
addressed?
Yes.
We opened it up for public comment. There was no public comment received.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Sorry.
No problem. Of course.
No, President, I don't have any question. Thank you.
Great. So on public comment for items not on the agenda, I believe we just open it right up for public comment, correct?
Correct.
Okay, let's do so.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, the Q&A panel is available. If any member of the public would like to comment on items not on the agenda, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen or simply raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. If you've called in, you can raise your hand by pressing *3. All right, I see no requests for comment. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay, well, I don't think there's any action that needs to be taken on this item then.
Correct. We can move on to item number 11, future agenda items. Board members.
Members, any items for future agendas?
This is a member Mateki. I have a question. Is it regarding the tutorial program, the curriculum? So I understand that the stakeholder meeting was canceled. I remember from previous meetings that there are requests. So is this some of the board want to look into it, or should it be in our jurisdiction to review all that, or set up certain curriculum guidelines for the tutoring program? So I'm not sure if this is even in the board responsibility. But I'd like to maybe Ben and the president can, discuss that.
I can provide a brief amount of information here. I don't believe we can do a full discussion on it, but yes, it is within the board's purview to review the tutorial curriculum requirements. The authority for the tutorial program is provided in statute, but the requirements is provided by the board in regulations. And so it is within the board's authority to review it. We chose to focus on the training program first, just because there was a lot of content, and with the sunset report and the office move, it would have been challenging to address both curriculums. And with this, we're coming to the end of our strategic planning item, and I think that this particularly, although it is part of the curriculum generally, our current strategic plan item is for training programs. However, since we're going to have to redo our strategic plan, this was an excellent item to add to the strategic plan. And once we can move through the analysis of all that has been submitted for the previous stakeholder meeting on the training program curriculum, we can move forward with arranging the stakeholder meeting on the tutorial. And we have had interest from stakeholders. They have reached out to us directly to discuss this and also understand the nature of the tutorial program curriculum and the board's authority on that. So there is interest in this item for sure.
Thank you, Mr. Boudia. So I will let you and the president to decide when will be the appropriate time to put on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is board member Yongping Chen. May I speak, President?
Please. Absolutely.
Thank you. So we had the board had, the board of the committee of the board had the stakeholder meeting for the curriculum review back in May, and I wonder what is the appropriate time to give feedback of what the stakeholders' opinion about the curriculum reviewing. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Chen. We do hope to have that at the next meeting. We just had to focus our attention on year-end reporting and moving, so we haven't been able to fully go through all the submissions and start analyzing them and synthesizing them. So we do hope to have that for the board soon.
Thank you, Ms. Padilla.
Any other future agenda items from board members? Hearing none, Mr. President, shall we open it up to the public? Thank you. Moderator?
Thank you. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on future agenda items, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists, or you may simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's closed.
That brings us to the end of our items today, Mr. President. Short meeting being with the hearing canceled from earlier. I leave it to you.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate everyone's attention to this, and it was a very efficient, quick meeting. So thank you, staff, for the reports and everything, and preparing this, and for the public who joined us. I will entertain a motion to adjourn, or at this point, we've done that in the past, and legal counsel says that we can just adjourn. So at this point, I will adjourn, and I look forward to seeing everyone shortly at our next meeting.
Thank you so much. The meeting is adjourned at 9:51 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.